Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lisa in Connecticut, Connecticut Worms and Gardens. Welcome back, existing subscribers, and welcome to new viewers. The video I'm doing today is a follow-up to the last video I did, which the last video I did was showing the status of my worms after they had been suddenly and rudely abandoned for 2 months because I became ill and needed a unexpected surgery, and the worms suffered greatly because I was down for that long. Anyway, I did the best I could. I gave them food, I gave them water, and I promised a follow-up to let you see how they were doing. Now, they were on my dining room floor at the time because I had kept them previously in my basement, and because I'm still not able to do stairs and can't still, I had someone bring them up and put them on my dining room floor for me. They still are, but I've moved them more closer to the wall so I'm not walking all around them. Where's the dog? Found a way to get to them. So I just want to do a quick recap. Now, this bin on top here. So first let me say I gave them all food and I gave them water. And what I did for food is something unique. And I'm not going to share that in this video because I want to make a video of it. It's an idea I came up with that I've never done before. I tried it and it worked incredibly well. But I want it to be its own video, so it's something to look forward to. But anyway, this top bin, these were the worms that I thought there was nothing alive. When I had, if you go back to the last video, I will try to put a link in here. I'm still terrible at this YouTube thing, but I showed most of the worms were dead. And there was a few alive. This was the bin that had taken the worst toll. I don't know why. I don't know what it was contributed to, but let me... Okay, if I can manage to keep my fingers out of the way. Let's see. Now, it's still going to be dry, because with all of these bins, since they were 100% done, what I did is I added food and water to one end, but not the entire bin, because I wanted the worms to navigate down so that I could harvest the castings. And as you can see, the worms are back. They are plump again. If you can look back again, they were shriveled up, crinkled up, dehydrated, pathetic is what they were. And you know, I did lose a lot in this bin. But those that were alive, they were shriveled up and teeny and dry and unhappy. And to look at them now, it looks like nothing had ever happened. For those who may not be familiar, these are Eisenia Andre and Eisenia fetida redworms. And it's interesting. There are a few euros in here. This was kind of an overflow bin. I had a comment on one of my recent videos. Actually, it's a new comment to an old video telling me that E. fetida and E. Andre can't be raised in the same bin and must be separated immediately, or the cocoons are going to mutate and the worms are going to mutate. And I responded professionally or appropriately, but that is absolutely not true. E. fetida and E. Andre, two kinds of redworms, live in harmony outside. They are wild in this area. They are wild in many areas, and they won't interbreed because worms don't do that, with the exception of 2 species, which aren't composting worms. And they do live fine. That's why there are so many breeders with mixed species bins. So I left a pretty detailed explanation of why that feedback was incorrect. And as you can see, they still have some of the food here, but the worms themselves are back to looking really healthy. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on this one bin. I wanted to spend more on this one bin because I wanted you to see the bin that was in the worst shape and how good these worms look now. Let me move. All right, taking a look at the second one. And we're not going to be able to do them all. Again, you can see some dry material at the top, some unfinished bedding, of course. an initial scratch. Shows a few worms. And let's get down here to the corner where the food was given. And look at that. Look at how these guys have bounced back. This is not the food that I mentioned that I'll be doing a video on. This is a honeydew melon that my neighbor had given me because she bought it and it went bad before she ate it. So she asked me if I wanted it for my compost pile, and I said yes, I'll feed it to the worms. So that's what that is. I had previously given them the food that I mentioned, and it looks to be all gone. But look at how these bounced back. Look at how healthy these worms are. And again, this is a mix of two types of red worms in here. Of course, there's an avocado shell in there. I mean, avocado pit. There always is, it seems. They have fattened back up. You can see a bunch of babies because there were a bunch of cocoons. Whenever worms go through a lot of stress, whether it's overcrowding, overwatering, underwatering, in my experience, anything but making an acidic condition, they go into a panic. They panic and go into a breeding frenzy, fear of failing to exist. The conditions aren't right. We're going to have a mass die-off, so let's make as many new ones to take our place as we can. And that is what happened when I unexpectedly abandoned them. So even though the bins were in horrible condition, there were a ton of cocoons. And the cocoons can stay unhatched and in very unfavorable conditions for an extended period of time. And they have since, many of them hatched. And there's so many young in here. And again, you'll notice even in this bin, you can see all the babies. You'll notice in this bin, there's a few still down here, because that's always true when you bait them with food, but very few. And they're all down the other end. Let's just peek at a couple more. I don't want to make this too long. It's easy to do, and I don't want to do that. These are Eisenia fetida. These are the original reds. And these guys were in really bad shape. And look at them. Look at these beauties. Look at their beautiful yellow tails. They bounced back. Oh, excuse me. I need to sit on the floor. This whole standing up, bending over thing with my spine is not a good idea. These guys are looking great. They're looking really good. There's no odor. There's no fruit flies or fungus gnats or mites. Mango pit, of course. And again, you can see baby ones right in the center there. But the worms themselves, they definitely bounced back beautifully. I mean, these are really great color for the original fetida. There you can see another baby on my finger. The camera didn't like that. It chose to focus out, but let me back up to show you just a few more. And again, this is pretty dry because I had one end wet. Well, now I messed it all up, but there was one end wet because I want to harvest all of these bins. And in regards to harvesting, I have been working with a friend who was for 30-something years employed as an engineer and retired about 6 months ago and is looking for a side project. And I asked and suggested that he help me design, or with my input design, a low-cost worm harvester. Something between a trommel and a sifter, an automated sifter, and the preliminary, let me move a bin here. The preliminary results are looking very, very favorable. So we might have a new product that is going to be much, much, much more affordable than the products that are on the market right now. You know, the Brockton shifter That's $3,500 plus $400 or $500 for each screen. You're going to spend close to $5,000 for that. If you want any of the large trommels, $3,500 to $5,000 on that. And then, you know, you have a small to medium-sized worm farmers that we have too many bins to make it practical to sift with a little hand sifter. And while there's a few rotary type tumblers on the market, I've seen a few, none of them seem to do a good job. Not for me anyway. So I am working with someone on that. I have high hopes. So this is a mix of reds and euros here. And again, I'm not going to take a long time. I just want to show you how beautifully they recovered. And as you can see, lots of babies. The worms have rehydrated, and that was their problem. They were just dehydrated. They can go a long time without food, and these guys amazed me because they went a long time without water. This was like a desert. And it looks as though they have eaten all the food that I put in there. I can see a little bit of scraps of green. Looks like some sort of weed. Because the food itself was weeds from my garden, but how I prepared it is what was unique. And yeah, so these guys too, the castings look, as you can see, they look really, really nice. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of unhatched cocoons, and I'm sure there's a lot that have hatched. It doesn't look like they have all migrated yet, but that's always true with a bait system. You got to get the majority and then go back for more. That's a hatched cocoon. I can see it's concave there. You can always tell the hatched from the unhatched cocoons. And if anybody would like to see a video on that to be able to establish a hatched versus an unhatched cocoon, leave a comment below. Okay, you're going to move with me. You're going to move to the bin with me. Sorry. Let's check in another one. This says it's a mix of reds and euros. And this was sitting down the bottom. Let's flip it over. Oh boy, look at this. Now you can see here, this mushy looking goo. This is the result of an experiment I tried, which was all weeds from my backyard. And this bin also had a pretty sizable loss, but what I noticed when I went through it is there were a ton of cocoons. So I wasn't concerned at all with the loss. Well, yeah, I wasn't happy about it because it's sad when neglect causes anything to die, but it was not planned. And the fact that there were so many cocoons, I knew they would hatch. And you can see all the babies in here. And there's a nice, healthy, ready to hatch cocoon right between my two fingers here. I can see a little mite on my finger. He's okay. One mite, and what all this goo is down the bottom, which they are loving. Look at this. They are in it. They are loving it. They look really healthy. The color came back. Their texture came back. Now here's another original E. fetida. I recently read that as much as 93% of worms sold as E. fetida are actually E. Andre. And while I knew it was a high percent, I didn't know it was that high. And I do have some of the original E. fetida, and they do look very different than the E. Andre. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what the name is. Red worms are red worms, and they are phenomenal composters. I have found the difference to be pretty negligible. The fetida get a little bit bigger, but the Andre breed a lot more readily. So in the end, I think the castings result in the same amount of castings, and you know, the worms do a great job. It doesn't matter. So but yeah, maybe I'll do a video on that too, to show the difference in how to tell which variety you have. So again, if you're still with me here and you would like a video on that, leave a comment below. Okay, we're going to take a look at one more. These are E. fetida. Let's look at, this is the only one I had covered. You know, this says E. fetida. Actually, it isn't. I remember I just had a bunch of these covers, the tops laying around, because they were brought up from the basement, and the covers got mixed up, messed up. So, the person that was helping me didn't understand the importance of keeping the cardboard with the appropriate bin, and that's okay. But look at these guys. Look at these. This green goodness goo that's in here, which came from the backyard. They are absolutely loving it. Now, I don't know what this is. See if the camera will focus on it. I'm still using my phone. This could be some sort of mite. I can't tell if it's moving. I have seen mites this shape and size, but normally that you could see them moving oh so slow. And even on my finger, I see one brown mite, but I don't see. This would be the myasthenia miles, something asthenia miles mites, and these are actually really, if that is what this is, and I suspect that it is. Oh yeah, I see them moving now. I see them separating. These are worm helpers. These are not worm predators. So that's actually a really good thing to have those in here, and I'm not going to take them out at all. So again, this is a mixture of my two kinds of reds, the Andre and the fetida, and you can see again they bounced back. They're eating their food. They're in the wet zone, and the castings look great. I was concerned because of how severely dried out the castings became during the neglect period, that I wasn't even going to be able to, you know, the castings weren't going to be of any quality to use in my garden. But it looks great to me. May not be perfect, may not be what it was, you know, had the neglect not occurred. There may be, you know, a slight decline in minerals or whatever else is in there. I'm trying to get up to show you one more. But it certainly has not rendered them unusable. Now this, I'm seeing a lot of unfinished material, which I think I put, oh yes, I did put some shredded cardboard, because these are Euros. It might be a mix, but I know there's Euros in here. And they were really, really super dry, and the bedding was really low. So I decided to kind of reset it with bedding and food and let them reprocess. And as you can see, they're loving this stuff. They're not even eating the bedding. They've fattened back up nicely. I'm going to give them some more water, since this bin, I did reset it, and I'm going to not harvest this one. I'm going to let them reprocess. And let me pause here. I want to show you one more. Alright, so this last one that I'm going to show you, because I don't want to keep going, is another. This should be Euros. Should be only Euros. Not positive of that. And no, it is not. This is a combination of Euros and red worms. And as you can see right there, I got some pot worms, which is probably because I put a bunch of blackberries from my back bushes. Another thing that got neglected was my fruit. My blackberries and raspberries were at peak time when I was down and out, so they got way overripe. They got full of fruit flies and mushy, so I picked what I could and been giving them to the worms. But look at how good these look, guys. Just look how good they look. You can see big ones, you can see babies, you can see there's at least 2 kinds of worms in here, possibly 3. And the castings look really, really nice. this bin here maintained its moisture. I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased. So, you know, of course I have many more, but I'm not going to go through them all with you. I just want to show you. I want to hold this camera still for a minute, if I can, with my hands, just so you can see all the little babies that are hatching. All it took was just a little bit of moisture to trigger all the cocoons that were lying in this bin, dormant, to trigger a mass hatching. Let me flip over another little section here. And you can see there's just so many babies. Now there's a new cocoon. A baby, a baby, a baby. Babies, there's babies everywhere. So this bin is going to be back in its chip-top shape in no time at all. Let me grab just a handful in my hand. Oh, I just dropped a brand new cocoon. So they're breeding again. Guess it doesn't take much to kick that activity off again. There's another new cocoon right there in the center of my hand. And you can see all the youngs. All the youngs. The youngins. Yeah, I'm really happy. I'm happy overall because all of them have bounced back. And even though I had a pretty significant worm loss in one of my bins, considering they went without food or water for 2 months and were in a really hot area, scalding hot, the fact that the worms lived and the cocoons remained viable even in that extreme heat, I'm very happy. You can see all the babies crawling around in there. So, you know, a month from now, I'm probably going to have to divide every one of these bins because these babies are going to be big. It's a good problem to have, and hopefully by that time I'll have finalized at least a prototype of the sifter, and I will be able to make that available. I expect it to be available by October. You know, there's a little more design to go into it, and I want to make it so that it's customizable to each person. That, you know, whether you're putting it on a wheelbarrow or a Rubbermaid tub or a bus bin, that it is customizable. So, all right, folks. Well, all right, folks. It sounds like Bugs Bunny. All right, folks. This is enough for you to see how well these worms bounced back. And thank you for those of you who have watched this to the end. Several people have asked me for an update, and I promised I would. And I will continue to do updates. And I'm going to have to harvest all these. I'm going to bait them one more time down at the end since I've stirred them all up now. And then I'll give them a harvest. And then I'll reset all the bins, and I think what I'll do, not all of them, but I will take a video of reharvest or resetting some of the bins, because I've had many people ask me, you know, what's in the bedding, how much bedding do you use, how much water do you use, how many worms do you put in, and I've been asked to do that video, so I will do that. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for your ongoing support. If you found this video because you stumbled on it through a search result or another video. Sorry, I'm trying to get a baby worm off my hand here. It's not, this little guy doesn't want to leave. Please subscribe. There's going to be lots more content coming now that I'm back. Still going to be a little wiggly and wobbly because I don't have my full mobility back, but I'm doing much better. Thank you for those of you who gave me well wishes as well. And a big thumbs up if you would. Even a little thumbs up. Any thumbs up will make me happy. And I hope you and your worms are having an amazing day. Take care.